Hello, and welcome to another episode of Rugby Through the Leagues podcast. Last week, we obviously had the Spain captain. This week, we've got the man, the myth, the legend, that is John Clark. He hasn't got a spine left, and there's no gym fitness influencer or influenza that is safe out there at the minute. Everyone's getting pot shots. So we thought, the man that has managed to make me shift a bit of timber for a change, it's probably a perfect time to get him on. And John, really appreciate your time, mate, and thank you for coming on.
No, thank you for the kind words and thanks for inviting me, mate. Looking forward to the conversation ahead.
Your gym escapade sort of talked for himself to a bit, but obviously you also play rugby still, part of the England Deaf team. Can we go through how your journey's gone? Because you've been around a little while now, mate, and you're self-proclaimed.
Been around a while, seen some things, done some bits. Yeah, my journey, where to start? So I started out in rugby. I played rugby since I was 11. Typical, went to secondary school, fell in love with the game, played it, loved it. Went to university just to play rugby. Wasn't interested in the degree. I was just when I got an unconditional offer to Loughborough, but went there and everyone was boring.
Yeah.
So then went to an open day at Worcester and all the rugby lads were on the beer. I'm like, that's the place for me. So
Quality.
Yeah, I went to Worcester Uni. Played there for 3 years and then continued my onward journey with Melbourne Rugby Club. So I was there we're in the National Leagues at that point. I suppose some knobheads will call it semi-pro because you were paid to play, but we're talking pennies, not pounds. Although, yeah, we'll say our semi-pro. Yeah, that sounds better, right?
So basically, you had your bar tab paid for. That was all it was, basically.
Yeah, it's a classic. Here's £75 a game, and we can rock around the nightclubs acting like we're Worcester Warriors, and we're clearly not. But so yeah, I played there, and then a scrum collapsed. About 2008, 2009. Scrum collapsed, felt a click in my neck, and turned out I put 2 hairline fractures in my neck. And the general advice and guidance was, you're probably not going to come back from this as a prop. The suggestion was change position. And as most props can attest to, I do not have skills that pay bills outside of that front row in the dark art. No. So yeah, I basically decided to get into just the gym work, and I was like, if I can't play rugby for a while, let's just see how strong I can get. I ended up becoming Britain's strongest natural man 2 years in a row, won Midland's strongest man, got to UK, got to England, knocking on the door trying to get to that higher level. Became morbidly obese in the process. Drug-free lifter, chasing the gains, chasing morbid obesity a long way. Yeah. So, ended up getting too heavy for my body. Deadlifted some massive weight, like 400 kilo deadlift, 380 kilo squats, that's why I don't have a spine anymore. And then my knees just weren't able to keep up with the weight I was lifting. I'm genetically disposed to be very strong, ultimately. Yeah. If you're going to given a God-given talent, mine is strength.
Yeah.
And my body just couldn't keep up with the progression, and my knees were just getting worse and worse. And in the end, I was just like, I don't want to have 2 knee replacements by the time I'm 40. So I retired, dropped the weight, went back to rugby. Along the way, running 48 marathons in 48 days and all the other stupid stuff I did in the endurance world. 24 hours on the ski erg, 100,000 meters on the ski erg, the 4-4-48, the 48-48-48, which is 48 marathons in 48 days in 48 counties. Then the cherry on top of the cake was the Marathon des Sables, which was 250 kilometers through the Sahara Desert. And then I was like, I'm now done with running. My Forrest Gump days are done. And then I went full send back into rugby, and then since then I lost my hearing not long after that, or through that kind of time frame, and that opened the door for England Deaf qualification. So grabbed that with 2 hands, moved to Ledbury Rugby Club, which have been outstanding in terms of supporting my hearing loss and my general ability to be a dickhead. And here we are now. So I made my debut for England last year against Wales, went on tour with them to South Africa.
Nice.
Played against Jamaica and Wales again this year, as well as completed the Ironman, every league game of the Ledbury rugby season this year, which at 38 years old, I think is something to be proud of.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings us pretty much full circle to today. So yeah, done some bits, seen some places, and got some stories to tell.
I think a fair assessment is you just like pain, by the sounds of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I often wonder why I do this shit. I have a very good ability to find the bottom of the well and see how deep we can go into that. pain of resilience. But I just love it. I love the test. I love the challenge. Like, it's so easy as we get older to get comfortable, right? We have more money, we have more comforts, we have more things around us that mean we can do less and still survive. And for me, that's not where growth happens. It's not about going out and finding stuff to suffer with. It's about stuff that you get excited about. Like, my new thing at the minute is a 20-minute road test. How many calories can you do in 20 minutes on the rower? And I've got absolutely no reason to do it. There's no need to do it, but I just love it. That the pre-game energy, the nervous energy on the day you're going to do your 20 minutes, you're setting up the rower, and you're like, I don't want to do this. This is a really bad idea. The first 5 minutes where you're cracking through it, being like, I am a god and I am nailing this. Then you hit the wall. All those life questions. Why am I here? Who am I? What am I doing? Why? No one's making me do this. And then you get over the finish line and it's like that. Oh, that's why we do it.
Yeah.
And to me, fitness, rugby, training, challenges, marathons, whatever, that's all it's about. It's about finding a bit of discomfort in your day to still feel alive around the comfortability of life that we created for ourselves as we get older and as we become adults, apparently.
Yeah, that's it. So it's definitely a passion of yours as well. And as you've sort of installed that back into myself. I know I really enjoy training. I had a similar sort of journey to yourself. Broke my neck in a car crash though when I was 19. So did that, then thought I'll be all right. I'll carry on, and then ended up front row. And I like to tell people you broke your neck. They're like, you probably shouldn't. Yeah, it'll be all right. And then like now I've obviously been caught out with my hip. Is giving us a bit of jip with my training, isn't it? So I've been advised to move further backwards, but let's see how the pre-season goes and whether that's physically possible. Obviously, Ledbury Rugby Club, mate, you've had a fairly decent season this year, haven't you? A little trophy at the end there, mate, as well.
It's been bittersweet, mate. We got promoted into that league, that highest league that Ledbury's ever played. Really young squad. Average age 20 to 23. Like there's three fossils. If you take the three fossils out of the team, the average age is early 20s. So we are dragging that average age up considerably. All front rowers, obviously. And yeah, we won some, we lost some, we learned along the way. It's a classic season, a coulda, woulda, shoulda in the league. We went down to the last game of the season. All we had to do was win our last game to stay up.
Yeah.
And that was the aim, as it always is when you get promoted, right? Stay in the league you just got into. And we conceded a try, last play of the game in the most heartbreaking way you could imagine to get relegated. But I always say you find out more about your teammates in the bad times than you do in the good times. And the club and the team and the lads just rallied together, and we had a shot at the Papa John's National Cup. So we were like, well, we can still leave this season with something.
Yeah.
Like, we built experience. Those young boys took a huge amount of learning from that next level up. And we'll be back there next year. I'm sure of it, based on everything that the club's got planned and the lads all sticking together. And I'm sure we'll be back where we belong. But the experiences we got from that, we took it to the Papa John's, and then we went on a tear. We were like, if we'd have played like that in the league, would have been like mid-table.
Yeah.
And got to the final, and then in true Ledbury fashion, we were winning, doing really well, and then we just managed to concede several tries, a couple of yellow cards, and then I think it was 12 points down with like 3 or 4 minutes to go. And it started with a scrum, man. We pushed them off their own ball. We went, and I managed to burrow over the line from 2 meters, but we'll call it a 20-meter side step fullback, easy 20 meters.
That's it.
So yeah, we got back in the game, and then we were down to the last play of the game, and we managed to go back up the field and got over the line, and we won in the most how we got relegated was how we won. All those lessons and all the stuff and all the hardships came together in terms of like, you never give in, never give up, and just keep going. And finishing with that medal, finishing with the trophy after the season that we just had was phenomenal. But it just goes to show, like, there's a lot of bad stuff that's said about kids and rugby and culture and how it's different from when we were kids, and they don't have the same respect and they don't train as hard and blah blah blah. And they do. If you find the right culture, find the right team, find the right work ethic, and those boys would literally die for that badge. They absolutely love it. And testament to Ledbury and the culture they've created. And we finished on a high, and already pre-season starts next week.
Yeah, nice.
Buzzing about
that. Because I caught up with Mario Bacardi, and the Spain camp, they also had the under-20s there ready for their under-20s World Championship. And Mario's only 24, and he said that group below is a different kettle again. Like the way they communicate, the way they. He said it was weird, even being sort of 4 years ahead of them. He said they're in a different category. And do you think the way that we've got to approach rugby? I know we've got the old values and the old ways of how it's done. That doesn't need to change. But do you think how we access the younger generation in helping them develop and find that passion? Because there are certain ones in the younger generation that opt for the easy way out because it is available now, and that's becoming more and more common. But I think rugby is the perfect vessel to change a certain group of society. Do you agree that there is a way of accessing that
yeah, I
generation?
think it's just understanding that the times are different now, man. Like the values that we need to keep in the sport are teamwork, respect, physicality, and just being a good bloke off the pitch, on the pitch, and after the final whistle. Yeah, the values that we can. And in my early 30s, I was like, the values that need to stay are if I tell you to drink it, you fucking drink it, you pressure prick, and all that kind of stuff. But now I'm older and I'm like, no, that's the stuff that needs to go, because that's the stuff that's not encouraging people to continue. And like, as you'll know, as a front rower from a younger age, the hardest part of a front rower's career is the 18-year-old big dick about town smashing other 18-year-olds, and then he comes up against me. 20 years as senior, can squat 300 kilos. I'm going to shove his head up his arse. But if he keeps turning up, he'll be a bloody good player. But he's not going to keep turning up if his teammates are making him see off points out of his shoe and making him feel like he's a lesser human because he's younger. And that's one of the real good values of where I'm at and with Ledbury and whatnot now, is that it doesn't matter your age. Like, everyone's treated with respect. Everyone turns up. Everyone trains. Everyone puts a shift in. And the metrics that are valued are hard work and consistency and turning up. And that's what creates a good team. And yeah, we'll have our social, and you'll have the initiation with a few dirty points and whatever. But it's once a year. It's not every single week, and that expectation. And yeah, I do think there's a huge amount that rugby's got to learn in terms of how we nurture those younger lads. Like one of the things I've said for years is that I think every club should have like a cult, like kind of liaison officer of getting them experience into senior rugby, because there's that big shock, isn't it? And then they land into senior rugby. They don't necessarily have the same connections with the older lads. They weren't even alive when Johnny Wilkinson kicked the drop goal. They were just being born when Mark Cueto's foot was it in touch or was it not in touch in 07? And then I'm trying to connect to these boys that I'm old enough to be their dad. But I do think that players like us set the standard and set the tone, that we still lift, we still train, we still prioritise being healthy, fit, active, and turning up to training, even though we've got kids, life, and reasons not to be there. And that's what then sets the standard for them. Whereas if we're the ones that are like, no, I'm too busy, I've got my life, career, kids, and whatnot, I'll just play on a Saturday, and then we whinge that the 19-year-olds have that attitude. So demonstrate the values and the attitude you want them to demonstrate, and they'll probably follow because they look up to you as a senior player. I guess it's a lot about balancing modern society, but mate, even like how we communicate, right? We've got a group WhatsApp chat, and all the boys are on Snapchat. Like the lads are like, "Oh, download Snapchat. We'll put you in the group chat." I'm like, no. I'm absolutely fine. I'll stay on WhatsApp. You guys do your thing on Snapchat, but I don't need to be there.
Send me a letter in the post, and I might reply. But Christ, Snapchat.
Give me a week. Give me a weekly summary, and I'm good. Just keep me up to date with any of the in jokes, and we'll roll from there.
No thoughts of hanging up your boots then? Is it one more season?
I daily think about hanging it up, mate. It's that classic thing, isn't it? It's like the analogy I just used there with the rowing, that you get into it and you love it and you're excited about it. And then as you get into the hard bit, you're like, I can't keep doing this. I'm like, it's too much. It's breaking me spiritually, emotionally, physically. And then you finish and then you get all the like, oh, I miss it. I want to do it again. And so, like, if you'd have asked me 2-3 weeks, we had the conversation, didn't we? 2-3 weeks before the final, I was like, this is my last game. And then we won the semi. And I was like, no, this is my last game. And then we won the final. But for me, it's all about balance in home life as well, right? Like, as you'll know, being a player with kids and whatnot, you're basically asking your other half to be a single parent for 30 Saturdays of the year. And it's a big ask, and it's a big stress that you put upon them. My wife absolutely loves it. She supports it, and she values me playing rugby and what that demonstrates to the kids, but it's also starting to take its toll with 4 children, 2 dogs, and now a pet dragon that our eldest now has. So
Perfect.
I think my aim for this year will be 1 more year, but it will be less of an Ironman and more of a Olympic distance triathlon.
Yeah.
It will be not as many games and playing when I'm able, rather than sacrificing huge amounts of family time. And that's not to say I'm not fully committed. It's just ultimately balancing the books.
Yeah.
And as we get older, it's almost like our transition out, isn't it? Like
somebody's got to come and take that spot from you, isn't they, as well? That's the thing. And if you're there to support that transition, somebody's going to learn from you.
Well, that's the thing this year, mate. Like, I was starting Lee said, one of the younger lads came back from Canada. He's like 21. He's an absolute beast of a player.
Yeah.
Like, hell of a baller. Should be playing far higher league. And he took the shirt, and I did all I could this season to try and help him, encourage him, offered some advice where I could. And he'll wear that shirt now as long as he's at the club. Like, he's a phenomenal player. And that for me is my job, is like the next tight head or the next loose head, and that helping them understand how to play the game at a senior level, how to balance being a dickhead whilst being firm and fair and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
And if I can get to the end of next season and go, do you know what, if I stepping down and leaving the club without any front row resources to play at the level that they're at, then I feel like I've left the club in a better place than I found it, and then I'll be able to just run about and play whatever team I'm needed in, rather than trying to push for a first team shirt week in, week out.
Yeah, perfect. Because there's a bit of a change of management at Ledbury at the minute as well, because they were looking for a new coach.
So yeah, new coaching team, which is also an interesting one, because you're back to ground zero, right? Yeah. Because it means that I can't just turn up knowing that the coaches know that I'm fit enough to play 80. I've got to be there to show them I can do it. So yeah, it keeps the wheels turning.
Any thoughts of getting into coaching, or not in your remit at the minute?
Again, mate, like if I was ever to stop playing, if it wasn't for an injury, it would be because of time commitments and just the stress that it puts on the family life and whatnot. So stopping playing rugby to then coaching is probably the most back-arsed way of managing the books that you could imagine, because ultimately, from what I can tell, the coaches spend more time with the rugby club than the players.
Yeah.
Setting up beforehand, tidying away, dealing with all the bullshit, dealing with all the politics, dealing with selection, dealing with happy players, sad players, moody teenagers, and all the other bits that fold into it.
Yeah.
So if it was me stopping playing because of time, then coaching's probably not my answer. Although I absolutely love it. Like, I did a bit of scrum coaching for a couple of years with my former club and absolutely loved that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I never say never, but it's a shame, isn't it? If you've got 20 years of experience in the dark arts, and one thing, if I was to ask any of the players I played with, what's the one thing that I bring to the team? If you're getting like, what's the one like bit that he does better than anyone else? It would be scrummaging. That is like my bread and butter.
Yeah.
Like, we've got a really dominant scrum at Ledbury. So you kind of like, I wouldn't want to just have that 20 years experience and not be able to pass it on.
Yeah.
But I guess that doesn't need to be a full-time coaching gig. It can just be sessional stuff and helping people understand the dark arts, so to speak, or even just the basic art of scrummaging, which is just really badly taught at an international level, let alone local rugby club level. But yeah, we'll see. Never say never, but time will tell.
So obviously England Deaf then, mate. You got called up. We've got a few games under your belt. How did the diagnosis come about as well? Because I had Michelle Hayward on, who's the England women's captain, about a year ago now. So she come on and she become deaf by being stamped on in a ruck. How did your sort of diagnosis come about? What sort of woke you up to the point that you actually thought, I can't actually hear much going on?
Yeah, so I basically had a big run of ear infections when I was a kid.
Right.
I didn't really think anything of it at the time. And then pre-COVID and lockdowns, I owned 4 gyms. So I was actively coached on the gym floor 30, 40 hours a week in person. And I just started to notice stuff that I was a lot of the time. You can tell that it's that classic, like, half an eye closed and one ear pointed towards the conversation. I just found myself doing that more and more often. And I was like, is my hearing terrible or not? I put my earphones in and I'd have to turn it all the way up to full volume. My iPhone telling me, like, turn your headphones down. I'm like, pissed off, I can't even hear it. And then it just led to that. And I was like, you know what, maybe there is an issue. Maybe I need to get it checked. Yeah. And then, I went to the hospital. Well, got referred in, went to the audiologist specialist and whatnot. and they said my left ear is terrible. I've lost 60-70% in that ear. My right ear I'd lost a little bit, but not a massive amount. But they'll give me hearing aids for both ears. And it isn't until you put them in and you're like, whoa, like there's birds tweeting in the trees, and I can hear bacon sizzling in the pan, and
wow,
I can hear, like, if my wife sat next to me, I can hear her breathing now. Whereas like before, I was like
nothing,
just blissfully unaware of anything around me. And you don't realize how bad your hearing is until you have it back.
Yeah.
So that was stage one, and that wouldn't have actually qualified me for England Deaf, because I don't think I would have had enough hearing loss total to have qualified. So I never reached out, because I just thought, well, I probably just don't qualify. Because in your head you think, well, deaf is fully deaf and sign language and not able to communicate with the spoken word. And then about 18 months, 2 years ago, I just woke up and my right ear had just gone. And I had loads of like pus coming out my ear, and I just thought, oh, it's another ear infection, antibiotics. That didn't heal it. And then it went on for like 2 or 3 months, multiple different antibiotics. And essentially, I eventually then pushed and pushed and pushed. And then they admitted that I'd had an ear infection alongside sensory-neurological loss, which is basically something that when it happens, if you get a set of anti-inflammatory drugs, then it's got a very strong chance of recovering the hearing, but it has to be taken within 7 to 10 days of it happening.
Right.
So we're 3 months on at this point. So they were like, I will give you the drugs, but the chances of it actually having an impact is slim to none. So don't get your hopes up.
Wow.
And they were slim to none. So I've now got, I think it's about 15 to 20% left in my right ear, and my left ear's continuing to deteriorate. So I've got about 30%, I think, last time I looked, in my left ear. So I rely on hearing aids in day-to-day situations. And then obviously like stuff like this with my AirPods in turned up to the absolute max. I could just about make out what you're saying alongside lip reading. So yeah, that's kind of the story really, and ultimately how it happened. They still don't know. They've MRI'd and CT scanned for brain tumors, for how my ear is internally. Is it constructed properly, or whether deficiencies or anything not right, and all of that looks normal and looks fine. Different specialists have got different theories about whether it's heavy lifting, whether it's repeated knocks to the head with rugby, and the list goes on, but no one can give you a definitive this is the reason, other than at the current rate of loss you can probably expect to be completely deaf within the next kind of 5 to 10 years. So the journey into learning sign language is ongoing, and yeah, we move. It's just one of life's things, isn't it? Trying to ultimately make the best of the bad situation. Reached out to England Deaf saying, does my audiogram qualify me? They came back going, yeah, we'd love to have you down, come down for some training. Started last January, and then yeah, made my debut in March, I think it was, and then yeah, managed to find a way of getting selected in every game since. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, mate. Wearing that rose, like when you dream of that as a kid, right? Wearing there, standing there with the white shirt on, with the rose, singing the national anthem. It's like stuff dreams are made of. And then yeah, running out for the first time, playing against Wales. And, yeah, it's not proper England, and I get that. I'm not standing here saying I'm Ellis Genge, but to go through that experience, to represent your country is phenomenal. And I always say, like, losing my hearing gave me more opportunities than I could have imagined. Yeah. So would I have all of my hearing to have not had those experiences is the multi-million-pound question, because the friendships I've made, the teammates I've met, the experience I've had off the back of it, and the lessons I've learned that have shaped who I am as a bloke. Who knows?
It's still what an honour just to every time you just pull an England shirt on, even just to go and train or something like that, you still get a little tingle and think, hold on, there's some better players that have pulled this on. But to stand on a pitch and obviously take on Wales as well, that must have been, for a debut, that was one huge tick.
Yeah, mate, we don't like Wales and they don't like us. Let's just call us spade a spade.
Yeah.
But again, it was like you walk in the changing room and you've got your name above your shirt and the rose and all your warm-up kits laid out and folded up perfectly, and you're like, oh shit, this is real.
Yeah.
Putting it all on, and even like most of us have worn an England shirt, right? But I can probably guarantee you've never been a full kit wanker.
No.
You've never put the white shirt on, the white shorts, the blue socks in your boots.
Yeah.
And when you do, or if you have, I'd be a bit worried. But when you do that and put it all on, and you're like, oh, this is not real. So warming up, and then again, even just looking over it, them warming up in all of their Wales kit and everything else, it's supported by the union, so you're in full Umbro kit. Well, what was at the time Umbro kit?
Yeah.
Yada yada yada. And yeah, it's a real surreal experience. You run out, the national anthem's playing, there's people in the stands, like parents are like tearing up in the background, kids look super proud of you.
Yeah.
They've all brought like cardboard signs and all this kind of stuff. And
Amazing.
yeah, it's just an honour, mate. Like the team of blokes that I play with are phenomenal humans. Like some of the stories, like from being born deaf to losing their hearing to cochlear implants gone wrong to accidents on the rugby field, accidents at work. Loads of the boys are ex-military and lost hearing in explosions in Iraq and Afghan and all sorts, mate. And meeting those people and the journey they've gone on and the challenges they've overcome, and they're still standing, still turning up, still playing for their club despite not understanding the fucking thing that's going on. Is it just every day when you wake up being a bit like, I can't be bothered today, you just think of those blokes and you're like, yeah, it could be worse. Like, let's crack on. So yeah, it's a phenomenal thing, and long may the deaf community embrace the deaf rugby side of things. And it's a challenge at the minute because ultimately, our game against Wales a few weeks ago had to be cancelled because they couldn't raise a team due to availability of scheduling and whatnot. And the other unions haven't really pushed on yet, so we don't have a Scottish or an Irish deaf team as far as I'm aware. So it's quite hard to find other deaf opposition. But with the deaf rugby, you've got international, then you've got community. So we're playing a lot of community games at the minute against other club sides. So the deaf community can still come together, albeit playing against other people that are of hearing, basically. But yeah, it's if ever any of the listeners get a chance to go see a deaf game, then I'd highly recommend it, because it's just a proper feel-good day out. And then if you wonder why everyone's waving, it's because that's how we clap. So we can't hear you if you clap, but we can see your hands waving at us.
Jazz hands.
Exactly that.
Because so obviously, as you mentioned, lads that go and play in their normal teams, So Michelle said she had to sort of adapt to players that can't hear, and obviously they've got players that are fully able to hear and stuff. Have you had to sort of tweak the calls and stuff at Ledbury? Has everyone embraced it and you found that? Or have you just had to find a way of getting on without having to cause too much disruption?
Honestly, I think the idea of admitting to people that you're deaf and that you struggle is harder than actually admitting that you're deaf and that you struggle. Like, I'd already come out with my hearing in terms of told the world that I had hearing issues before I went to Ledbury. The boys knew turning up. And I could tell when I turned up, there was a sense of, I don't know how this is going to work. I've never played with a deaf bloke. They maybe don't know someone that's tried to play rugby. Like when I hear an A's in and we're in the clubhouse and we're chatting and everything's fine, and I take them out and I'm like, silence. But honestly, like the blokes I couldn't ask for a more beautiful set of blokes. Like there's two or three of them. So one of my other fellow front rowers, Aaron, I've known him for years, and he's like my interpreter. So we'll all stand there in the huddle. The coaches will say their thing, literally like 5-10 minutes of chatting, and I'm just like, I can't hear a fucking thing. And then I just turn to Aaron, and then I can lip read Aaron now, so he'll turn around and he'll tell me basically a summary of what's just been said. And then away we go. And it's been like, I communicate with the referee before every game. Look, I'm deaf, so I engage when I feel the hooker go. You'll never do me for an early engage. So just if you need to speak to me, make sure I know that you're speaking to me, because if I'm walking off and ignoring you, don't push me back 10 yards. I've just not heard you. And the refs have all been fine. And then ultimately with the calls and things like that. So when we started, it's just understanding patterns, right? So we play quite a lot of out the back door rugby, which relies on me knowing what the 10 wants. But obviously with me being in front of him, I can't hear what he's saying. So I just change where I stand. So I'm the offload option rather than the first primary carry option. So again, it cuts down on the decision making that I've got to make, because I just can't hear the information. Not that many props are thrown out the door back passes anyway, right? And then with stuff like line outs and scrums, so a lot of them are hand signals and recognizing movement patterns. Like, you'll know every variation of a line out. You've got 4 or 5 different variations from a 3-man, 4-man, 5-man, 4-man, whatever. And then you've got your call for what a drive is. So I've taught them some very basic sign language around what the call for a drive is. Like it's either like every club's is like a tank or tractor or car or whatever. So they know how to communicate with me that we're going to drive it. So I know that, right, we go. And then it's just recognizing movement patterns. Like, we've got a really set like stable team. So our second row partnership has probably played together 85% of this year. So I know based on what they're doing where I need to be.
Right.
And again, it's just practice. And then if we've got any big calls like 5 meters out, we don't do a Lions from the weekend and just lob it in. I make sure I know the call and make sure I know what's happening so I'm not the weak link. But yeah, ultimately it's just it is honestly it's communication, and that's all it's about. It's just them understanding how to communicate with me, knowing whether they need to push me physically into the right place or just make sure that they're speaking to me in a certain way. And yeah, loads of them have gone out and learned little bits for sign language as well. Little sweethearts that they are. So,
bless.
Although most of them just want to know how to swear, they just keep coming up to me and being like, calling me swear words. But yeah, if anyone's listening, watching this, and they've got hearing issues and they're kind of hiding it and don't really want to admit it, like my experience is people are nothing but supportive of it and help you with it. And the sooner you admit to it and the sooner you share that with your teammates, the more that they can find ways to help you. And then you enjoy the game far more because you then don't feel like you're the one that's letting the team down because you haven't heard anything or haven't understood something or whatever. But yeah, if you've ever got any issues or fears or worries about your hearing, just get it checked. Because if I'd have got mine checked sooner, it probably could have caught what may have been causing it. But the typical bloke thing of being like, I'll be all right, it's not too bad, it'll be fine. And then years down the line, you then go with hearing aids and learning sign language. So yeah, that's kind of like the hearing side of stuff with the club, really. But they very kindly awarded me like personality of the year this year at the club for kind of, I think, ultimately showing that what we can overcome. Setbacks don't have to define us, right? It's how we react to them that does. So yeah, no, I couldn't speak highly enough of the club and what they've done for me and the family. It's a great place to be.
Yeah, it's awesome. So obviously, you kids, you say you've got 4, haven't you? You've got 4 kids. Obviously, they've grown up with the situation. How have they adapted to it as well? Like, do they just realise that Daddy might not be listening to them because he can't, or do they try and play off it and think, happy days, I can play Daddy against Mummy because Daddy hasn't heard, but he said yes, like the kids normally do?
They're good as gold. Like they understand. Like even our 3-year-olds. And like my wife was away with the other kids this weekend at a concert, so I stayed behind with our little one, our 3-year-old. And I noticed that without Hannah being there, my wife, he now comes up to me and he'll like tap me if he wants me. And he's only 3 and he's figured it out. Like if he just sits there and shouts, "Dada, Dada," I'm like, I can't hear anything.
Yeah.
But if he comes up and taps me, I'm like, "Yes, mate, what do you want?"
Yeah.
And like even I'm trying to teach him a little bit of sign, like,
brilliant,
how are you, and like fantastic and things like that. And so he didn't really know what he's doing. And the youngest kids are just again, they're just like trying to learn swear words and think it's hilarious to go around in front of people without them knowing what they're saying. But yeah, no, again, they just understand the situation. They know that if they say something and I have to ask them again, we've got like a three time rule. So if you say something twice and I've still not got it, try rephrasing it a different way on the 3rd time.
Yeah.
Because normally lip reading, from what I can remember with the numbers and statistics, but 60% of words you can lip read and the other stuff's guesswork based on movement patterns.
Oh, okay.
So again, it's like if you're saying something to a deaf person and they're trying to lip read you and it's not, they're struggling, just change the words because certain words, like the whole like "I love you" and "elephant juice," like they look the same movement pattern, right? So it's how you just rephrase it and how you change it. And my wife's learning a little bit of like sign language as well, so when we're in busy places and whatnot, she can communicate with me better.
Yeah.
But again, mate, it's just adapted. Like it's no different than anything else in life. If someone struggles with something, how can we help them? And hopefully, again, it's showing the kids that if something like that ever happens to them, it's not a death sentence, it's not the end of the world. Similarly, if something like that happens to their friends, then they understand empathy and support and being kind and considerate, not just going, "Oh, you deaf fucker," and trying to take the piss with it. So, yeah, no, they're good as gold with it. But yeah, they don't particularly try and play us off against each other because they've normally got written evidence between me and the wife because we communicate through text sometimes. But yeah, no, they're good as gold. And again, it's just understanding what's to come. So I'm trying to push for them to start learning a bit of sign as well. And then I'm about to go through my formal level 1 qualification with it. So I'm going to then try and teach them what I've learned. And then again, it just gives them a bit, even if they can just finger spell.
Yeah.
So if they're trying to say something and someone can't understand it, they could just spell the word out, and then it means that we can still communicate on that level.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, more and more people are learning sign, more and more people are becoming aware of it. So, and long may that continue.
Yeah, amazing. Great work. The online coaching, mate, is obviously now takes up majority of your time. Is that probably fair to say? We're in constant communication as well, obviously with me being part of your stable. What is the target for pre-season for most players? Because as we know, there's probably 4 types of players. You got the ones that are all in, want to get better. There's the ones that will dabble in and only be touch only. You've then got the ones that literally are the ghosts that never turn up. They're always in the pub. And then you got the ones that pretend to make a bit of an effort. What would be the ideal plan for each of those sort of categories? Obviously, even the ghost that thinks they turn up and then they realise the Bronco cones are out and they think they can disappear. They've still got to get a way of getting through the season. What's your advice to players?
I think the main thing is like what do you actually want out of your rugby season? Like the work that you do now, the work that you do in the work you do in pre-season, the work you do in pre-season, and the work you do in season, will dictate your enjoyment of the game. So if we're talking to the older lads, like guys like our age that are like there's less games ahead than there are that you've played, then your enjoyment of the game will come from the work that you do in maintaining your physical competence. The biggest reason people retire, right, is the game's too fast and I can't keep up and everything hurts all the time. Bullshit. You just got slow. You got lazy. Yes, you may lose a yard of pace, but the chances are you're probably not lifted in the gym. You're probably not doing the extras that you were when you were 21. And that's why the 21-year-olds are now taking your shirt. So it comes down to me, and the question I always ask, this time of year, I get a lot of people contacting me being like, right, pre-season starts next week. I need to get started. When can we start? What can we do? And I'm like, you should have started a month ago. But the best time to start was yesterday. The worst time to start is tomorrow. So let's just start where we are today.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, what are the expectations? So for a lot of players, it's about building resilience and building tolerance to load. But again, I think a lot of the clubs have a responsibility to manage this as well. Like busting out a Bronco for the sake of, it's pre-season, so let's make them do a Bronco. Like Broncos don't make better rugby players.
No.
Broken games of touch with running added into it will make better rugby players. So again, it's understanding your club's approach to fitness conditioning in pre-season as well. Like ours, from what I can gather, this coming off season, this pre-season will be a lot of kind of conditioned games. And yeah, there will be some run from A to B or the 5 meter line to the halfway line or whatever, but that's not going to be the bulk of it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's being match fit already because that's what we're going to get tested on. But if your club's big on the Broncos and the DNAs and that kind of stuff, then you need a bigger bank of fitness because that's what you've got to put yourself through to prep yourself for the season. Yeah. So I think a lot of people look at pre-season as the shit that they've got to do to get to the bit that they enjoy. But I look at it as the bit that I get to do that means that I then enjoy the bit that I enjoy, which is playing the game at the highest level that I can play. So I can turn up to that first game knowing that I'm fit, knowing that I'm strong, knowing that I'm going to put some loose head on his arse because I've done the work.
Yeah.
Whereas the players that turn up at the back end of August that do 1 week of pre-season and straight into games, and then they're sat there 5 minutes in being like, I am blowing, like, you haven't done the work. No. So I think regardless of what camp you sit in and your attitude to it, my question to anyone is always this: what do you want to achieve this rugby season?
Yeah.
And that will then dictate what you do. But for me, aerobic fitness is the bare minimum that you should be doing to have some level of fitness, which anyone can do that's not emptying the tank and taking you down deep into the well of despair.
Yeah.
Alongside some gym work. As we know, the strength and conditioning side is massive. And even if it's just squat, press, deadlift once a week, that's still going to help you in terms of building tolerance, building resilience, and building an ability to handle the load, the rigors, and the impacts of another 18-stone man running at you.
Yeah.
So, does that answer the question? I think so.
Yeah. I think obviously most clubs have got gyms as well now. It's a lot of lads sort of disappear for the pre-season, don't they? And think that golf is their pre-season. I know quite a few lads that disappeared.
Golf or cricket.
Yeah, disappear. Think they can play 18 holes or knock it around on a park on a Sunday morning will suffice as pre-season. But the game's getting harder as you get older. Like I'm in the same camp as you, and like the lads that are coming through are quicker, but there is more that can be done. And like, do you think, I get why clubs sort of have the break, but do you think the clubs should try and do a little bit more to keep players together? Like the pre-season will start as a mass activity, but give options for players to consistently train after the end of the season, because I've seen a couple of clubs like do running clubs with lads. They'll get down, they do a few. There's about 5 or 6 that will go along, and they'll keep together. But then a lot of clubs just disappear for the 2 months and then just wait and see who comes back. Is it an opportunity for clubs to do more?
Yeah, definitely. I think the more proactive clubs are actively offering those opportunities, whether it's the Summer Touch Rugby League or the whole like movement into adapted rugby, isn't it? Where it's like you can walk, you can run, you can get tackled, you can get touched, regard like you choose your own level of what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
But again, I think the other side of it as well, mate, for guys like us, is like we just need a fucking break from the monotony. Like we need a break from Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So for me, like our club does that. They have like touch rugby, and the lads get together on Tuesday nights and do some fizz. Whereas I'm like, boys, I'll see you in June.
Yeah.
Like, if I come down and do that, I'm definitely going to risk divorce. Like, I need to see my wife, I need to see my kids. So, but again, I can do that comfortably because I know I can take charge of my own fitness, and I know I'm putting myself in a hole with my own training. Whereas if I was just relying on rugby training to get fit, then I'd be like, yeah, I need to get my ass down there. But I do think it just comes down to your general overall view of fitness. Are you using rugby training to get fit, or are you using rugby training to improve your skills and ability?
Yeah.
And for me, it should be the latter. Like, if I'm pretty sure every rugby coach up and down the land would rather spend pre-season working on catching, passing, patterns of play, scrimmaging, line-outs, mauls, not to the baseline, because you're all a set of lazy fuckers that have done nothing for 3 months.
Yeah.
But again, like we say, like it's a long old season, mate. You get to the end of it, and the last thing you're thinking about is like, oh, I need to go do more fitness.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the first thing you need to be thinking about is what does next year look like, and the work you do now is going to dictate the season that you're about to have. So, I do think ultimately it's the players' responsibility, but it's also led by the club and the culture they promote. Like we were told in no uncertain terms, we come back fit for the start of pre-season. Don't come back looking to get fit because you will get left behind. And obviously with those, we've got the added impetus with the new coaching regime and new starting, like we say, starting at zero with balance, with credit in the bank.
Yeah.
So the lads that want to put their best foot forward will come back having done stuff, and those that will avoid the gym at all costs regardless won't have done. And they'll probably then have to wait until the November, December when injuries start to come in before they get their chance. So again, it's just, at the end of the day, you're a grown-up. Decide what you want out of the season, but don't be whinging at Christmas time that you're still playing second team rugby when you didn't do pre-season, you've not lifted any weights, and you just spend most of your time in the bar rather than on the pitch.
Yeah.
Like, again, it's like you can't get mad at the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do. And that's the often thing that we see with the older rugby player. And it's like, oh, I'm not getting selected, and these young kids have taken our place. And it's just like, or maybe you've not done the same amount of work that they have and turned up in shape, and that's now led to you getting dropped. So I do think it just needs that honest reflection from a player, and there's nothing wrong with going, do you know what, I'm just going to turn up in whatever rig that I've got and I'll play for whatever team I'm selected for. Cool. You do you, brother. That's absolutely fine. But don't sit there whinging that you're not in the first team shirt because someone else has put the work in, because in the modern game, natural skill and ability just isn't enough.
No.
Even at regional level, like counties level, like fitness, strength, power, all that stuff is just as important as being able to catch, pass, bend over and push. So, yeah, it just comes down to that honest reflection. What do you want? And then we can then put a plan in place based on that outcome.
Yeah. It definitely works. Like, obviously, I've managed to shift a bit of timber, feeling in a better position. We've got a plan for pre-season as well now. So it's going to be exciting to get underway with.
I think just on that, I think a lot of it, though, is understanding the measurables and the metrics, right? So are we getting fitter? Are we getting stronger? Are we getting faster? Are we getting leaner? a lot of people that haven't involved themselves in a coaching process, they just kind of do a bit and be like, how do I feel?
Yeah.
But if we've had a few beers the night before, we probably feel a bit rough and don't feel that fast. If we've had a cigar the night before, we're probably not feeling that fit. But I know with my 20-minute road test that week on week, I'm getting fitter. I know with my back squats that they're week on week improving.
Yeah.
So the biggest advice I can give anyone that's not in a coaching process or self-managing their training and everything else is track your bloody numbers. Because if you know what your body weight's doing, you know what your lean muscle mass is doing, you know what your fitness scores are, you know what your strength scores are, you can then determine X or Y, 1 or 0, yes or no. Yeah. I am improving or I'm not, rather than just do a bit and be like, yeah, I've done bits, that's enough. And then be shocked when you turn up and find out it's not. No. So yeah, just track. What doesn't get measured doesn't get managed, right? So that's a big philosophy of mine in general.
No, I see. I think that's key, as you say, making sure you actually see a pattern makes it easier to keep moving forward, or you then tweak that pattern to make sure you see the results that you want to do. And it can be done with or without a coach. It's just sometimes a hell of a lot easier to do it with a coach that can then call you a fat c*** doing it.
Yeah, fucking get the belt. I'd really been moving, you prick. No, it's at the end of the day, it's accountability, and it's someone that's not in the picture frame, right? Yeah. Like, you've got a missus, you've got kids, you've got multiple businesses, you've got rugby, like, you're in the picture frame. So you can't necessarily take a step back out and look at the bigger picture and be like, am I progressing? Am I doing what I should be doing? Am I exhibiting the behaviors that I need to exhibit? But me, who stood looking into the picture, can be like, that plate needs adjusting, that volume, that dial needs changing. And actually, do you know what? Although you're annoyed that you've not lost his weight this week, you've also done this, and this, and we're still seeing progress.
Yeah.
So it is all, for me, coaching's about being able to take the step back and look at the bigger picture, rather than when we're doing it ourselves, we can get so focused on the instant wins rather than the long-term progress that we're making.
Yeah, exactly. The fitness industry as well is currently full of a lot of dickheads, a lot of pretend made
Guilty.
But pretend made up bullshit for people to follow different trends. And obviously you're leading the fight in calling a lot of this out. Do you think the industry's lost its way, or is there still enough good people out there to help guide people forward, or is it just full of people that have targeting a quick buck? Because it is an easy opportunity to make money, because people think that they can pass the problem over to someone, pay them X amount, and they're going to instantly lose weight. And then obviously you've got these weight loss injections, etc., etc. We've got all these cheat codes of how we're going to lose weight rather than just actually getting shit done. Is the industry lost, or is it still there? It's just you've got to work a bit harder to find it.
I think you had to be found before you could be classified as lost, right? And I don't think it's ever actually had a stable footing of non-snake oil salesmen and knobheads. If you go back to the 80s, 90s, noughties, from Arnold Schwarzenegger's days, it's always been full of people selling the quick buck, selling the bullshit, the potion, the snake oil. Remember from our day, like Gaspari Super Pump and all this shit that we used to take, like Jack 3D, bring it back, bring it back.
That solved that.
All the other
would
stuff
solve
was like,
everything wrong in the world. Jack 3D back.
That would probably, it genuinely would. Productivity would be an all-time high.
Yeah.
Granted, we'd probably die early, but we got more shit done in the last years that we had. But no, I think a lot of it is just, ultimately, as you say, so there's nothing more emotive than our personal relationship with ourselves, really, right? Like how you feel transcends everything. Your productivity in life, relationships, work, career, like everything kind of starts with how you feel about bones and the rig that you walk around in. As you'll know, as you've lost weight, you've more than likely felt more confident, felt more purposeful, felt more productive. So the industry is very easily linked into people's weaknesses, and as the gurus call it, pain points. How can I make you feel like a piece of shit, and how can I make you think that I've got the solution? The solution ultimately is to do the work, but ultimately people don't want to accept that because that requires work. So that's where the quick fixes and the lead in 6 weeks and all this bullshit comes into it. Then you've also got the other side of it, of unrealistic expectations of what the human body should look like. So I got an interesting response the other week when I put up a thing saying, like, most of my guys don't want to be shredded. They don't want to step on a bodybuilding stage. They don't want to have abs. They just don't want to have to breathe in when they tie their shoelaces. They want to be able to wear budgie smugglers at the beach and not feel like they're out of place. They're not trying to be bodybuilders. They just want to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And I think again that's the other side of it is that people have been led to believe that unless you're chasing Arnold Schwarzenegger style rips, then you're failing.
Yeah.
And like the amount of negative comments I get on my Instagram posts about my body, and I'm like, fuck you. This body's deadlifted 400 kilos. It's run 48 marathons. What have you done?
Yeah.
Because people associate success in the fitness industry with bodybuilding. Because again, that's where the industry was realistically formed, right? With the Gold's Gym and Arnold and all the other stuff back in the day. So I think there's a lot of stuff that falls into it. But I always say you can only polish a turd and sell it once before people see through it. But the issue you've got with the internet is that there are millions and millions of people that will buy a turd.
Yeah.
And that ultimately means you could just rinse and repeat until they stop buying it, and then you move on to the next thing. There's no repercussions. The industry isn't regulated, and it never will be. So I think ultimately all that we can do is lead the fight in terms of what is good coaching, what you should expect to receive from a actual coach. Because most online coaches, most in-person coaches, they're not coaches, they're programmers. Here's the program, crack on. Did it work? Yes, no. If it didn't, you're shit. You don't want it enough. You need to grind harder.
Yeah.
No nuance, no understanding of a situation, no putting strategies in place. And I say all the time, the worst coaches make the really complicated really simple, and that's it. So X is Y. Whereas the best coaches make the really complicated really simple, but then give you strategies to then implement the simplicity into your day-to-day life and all the nuances that fit around it. So I think the more we can do to grow good coaches and good people, then the more it will shine a spotlight on the shysters and the bullshit. But unfortunately, it'll never go away because it hasn't done in 30, 40, 50 years of the industry being... I was thinking that 80s is like 20 years ago. It's not now, is it? It's like nearly 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is worrying, or 40 years ago. But yeah, I think it's a bit of a long answer to the question. But no, I don't think the industry's lost in terms of there's no hope and it can't be corrected. I think there will always be, like there is in any industry. You'll have good second-hand car salesmen. You'll have dodgy ones.
Yeah.
It's any industry is the same. People looking to make a fast buck don't care about the people they're working with. They just care about their own bank balance. But they're the people that will be gone here today and gone tomorrow. People like myself that are coached for coming up for 20 years now, that are still in the industry, still coaching, still trying to make a difference, still getting messages from blokes on the weekly saying, "You changed my life, you changed my marriage, you changed my relationship with myself."
Yeah.
They're the good ones, and they're the ones that we need to promote and talk about more. But unfortunately, the majority of really good coaches I know have got 2,000 to 3,000 followers, and they're not well known in the industry because they're not trying to over sensationalize information or make stuff shareable. They're just putting out good quality content. So if you want to help spread the message of good coaching, whenever you see a coach that puts out good content, their content, like it, comment on it, share on it. That's the biggest thing the general population can do, is to try and make the voice of logic and sense be louder than the voice of quick fixes and sales.
Yeah.
But again, it's like the weight loss jabs, right? Like a lot of personal trainers are intimidated by it because they think it's going to ruin their careers. And if you genuinely think that a weight loss drug is going to replace you as a personal coach, you're not a coach.
No.
Because I can't imagine someone's going to be chatting to their weight loss drug, talking about their feelings and their emotions and their body confidence and the fact that the kids got them up 3 times in the night, and then the weight loss drug being able to give them an answer.
Yeah.
Same as AI. If you think that AI is going to replace the empathy and understanding that you have for your clients and the people you work with and you build a relationship with, then you're not really building very good relationships if that can be replaced by a computer.
Yeah.
So I do think a lot of it is better if you're worried about your livelihood being taken by these quick fixes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, making sure that those dickheads don't have the bigger platform as they do. Like, I'll just call it out. Haskell the other week talking about he managed to shoehorn cognac into his father's passing.
Yeah.
Like, unfollow. I'm out. Like, for me, that's just it's unforgivable in terms of like the influencer sphere. So for me, unfollow, remove. I'm not going to give you the like. I'm not going to give you the follow.
No.
And that's ultimately, it's like politics. That's how we vote with our feet, right? So if you are seeing stuff that you don't agree with, unfollow and leave, rather than just muting them, because that'll make a bigger difference to the bullshit that they peddle.
Yeah, I think that's obviously the way that everyone with social media, you can sort of see more of different things, and there's a lot more people being sold out in a sense as well. Like you said, there was obviously his dad passed, and then he shoehorned it in, and then they did an advert with, what was it, Remy or whatever it was, the cognac VSOP, and you think, but he's always been unapologetically about the money. But your dad dying, maybe be a different conversation, but he is what he is. But if you don't agree with it, you just move on. Whereas a lot of people start making the comments like you said about people taking pot shots at your weight, your rig, that you're on gear, all of these sort of different conversations they start trying to spew at you. Like, just move on. Like, if you don't like it, or if you're not happy with your own self, just move on and go and look at somebody else that you agree with.
This is the problem, right? Is that most normal people don't like conflict.
Yeah.
They're like I put that thing up about Haskell, and I had 200, maybe even 300 messages in my inbox going, "Oh, I saw that. What a prick." And I just replied back going, "Well, what did you do about it?"
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, I've told you about it." I was like, "Did you unfollow it? No. Did you comment on it being this is a bit in bad taste? No." So why would he then not continue to do that? Why would he not continue to monetize absolutely everything possible? And yeah, rightly or wrongly, whether he's quite clearly open, like it's just about the money, deal with it. It's not my problem, it's yours. So leave or walk or make a statement about it. But don't just sit there in silence and be like, "Oh, I'll still follow, and I'll still give him the credit and the kudos and like the next post that comes up that suits what I believe in."
Yeah.
So again, for me, the problem that you've got, and this is why I think I've rubbed people up the wrong way, is because I'm not scared to have the difficult conversation. If you're going to be a tell you, I think you're
yeah.
It is one of those things, and ultimately, I think that's where people like you and I don't necessarily see eye to eye with everybody, and we're an acquired taste of Marmite. Because it's like I'll call it what it is. And if you think I'm being a dickhead and I'm being irresponsible or whatever, then I'd expect you to tell me.
Yeah.
Because that's what being a bloke is about, in my opinion. Like, speak your truth, speak your values, and stand for something, rather than just being whinging and moaning about stuff and not actually ever taking action. Same as the whole, like, "Oh, I'm not getting selected for the first team," but you've not done the work, have you? Same theory. It all comes down to be a man of conviction and be a man of the values that you want to live by.
Yeah.
So I do think that comes down to a lot with it, with the fitness space. So ultimately, it's not lost, and the people that are worried about it being, well, it is lost, but it's not irreparable. It just comes down to supporting the right people in the right way and calling out the bullshit. Like, I've got a reel that's going to go out after this call that's about a woman saying, like, "Oh, men that are bodybuilding, no woman gives a shit about it. Why are you doing it?" And the whole message behind that is like, for me, because I want to be stronger, I want to look better in a t-shirt, I want to show that my kids that physical fitness and health is a priority. Like, it's that classic thing, isn't it? It's like, if people did more of what was valuable to them, then they'd probably see a better result and be less annoyed with the world around them. But yeah, the fitness industry's got some explaining to do, but I'll keep trying to fight the fight until my Instagram gets shut down by somebody.
Absolute quality. I think on that note, it's probably a perfect time to call this one an end. John, really appreciate your time, mate, and I'm really looking forward to what we can do this season for my rig as well. And anyone that wants to sort of change their rig, mate, where can they find you?
The Bending Barbell, which is like my Instagram, or if you're not a massive social media user, then just head to my profile and go to my bio, and then you'll see my email list. So I'm trying to put more content out on my email list as much as I am on my IG at the minute. So yeah, they're the best places. But I always say, any podcast I'm ever on, if there's anything on this podcast, any subjects that you want to chat about, dive deeper into, ask questions, just drop me a message. A lot of people think that they can't message like podcast guests, but that's the whole point, right? It's to help spread the message, help spread the love, help spread some knowledge. So if there's anything that you want to chat about, drop me a DM. I'm happy to cover anything that we've covered, even if it's just chatting about hearing loss and worries or concerns about that. The inbox is always open. So yeah, the Bending Barbell on Instagram or my email list.
Awesome. And for anyone that wants to keep abreast of all our episodes coming up, we've obviously got John on this one. The next episode is going to be coming out with Thomas Appleton on, the Portuguese captain, ahead of the Portugal against Ireland game in Lisbon. So I'm actually going to be there at that game just after the release of that episode. So make sure you like, follow, subscribe, all that sort of gubbins. Make sure you keep sharing the love so that we can keep getting amazing guests on like John. Thanks for joining us. Thank you and goodbye.